Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Hammer. Today is Monday, September 15th, 2025. I, of course, am Hammer here with your daily mortgage rate update. Remember that I have a lot of different products to help my originator friends get more business. So check out Originator Success. It's to help you build your online brand, generate reviews, stay in touch with past clients. So be found, be chosen, be remembered. If you're looking for some help with your social world, check out Grab and Go Social. We've got pre-made awesome content, customizable content, coaching to help you to utilize social media to go out there and get business. And if you want to learn more about what's going on with rates and pricing and maybe use some of that to get some business, check out Rate Sensei, which is what you're here now. So anyway, good morning, y'all. Remember, you can join me live each and every weekday morning, 9:30 a.m. Eastern time, as I broadcast to you on Facebook and on YouTube. And if you're here this morning, say good morning. Monica Dinkins out there on YouTube. Good morning, Monica. Holly Johnson over on YouTube as well. Good morning. Great to have you here as well. Mallory Fotiadis representing the Facebook crowd. Hello, Mallory. How was the beach? How was the beach? You said you were going to the beach this weekend. How was that? Sean Segaloff. Go Pats. You mean good morning. Yeah, a little football stuff, right? I'm a Carolina fan and a Giants fan, so I'm in purgatory. Angela Walters, good morning. Almir Krivdik, good morning, sir. If you are here this morning, say good morning. If you're watching on the replay, don't forget, give me a hashtag replay in the comments. If you would like to join me live and you need a little reminder, we do send out a text message each morning. Check us out, hmmr.io/reminder. You can sign up for that. Use this cool QR code. If you're on your phone now, take a screenshot. You can always go back to your photos. That QR code will work, and you can just sign up for a quick reminder text that I'm going live with the link so you don't miss us each and every weekday morning. So go check that out. Also, if you would like an email, our email lock advice at ratelockadvice.com. In fact, I just sent that out. Let me show you what that looks like. Hold on a minute. I'm going to pull one up. Here we go. All right. Hey, look, it says I'm live on my channel. When I see this over here on the let me see, I'm going to pull this over. I'm sorry. I know this is taking long. I should have had this prepared, but I want to do this today. So we're going to do that. So there you go. So if you would like just a nice email that about what's going on, here is the daily commentary. You can sign up for that at ratelockadvice.com. If you would like our text alerts, you can sign up for those at ratetextalerts.com. And they're $7 a month. And there's no more affordable way of staying on top of what's going on in the markets and protecting your pipeline than our Rate Sensei text alerts. So, all right, my friends. Well, anyway, enough of that bibble babble. Let's go ahead and get to the good stuff here. Good morning, Jerry Avila, Allison Foy, Tiffany Teal, Randy Tico. Giddy up, sir. Mike Brown, Tim Klyla, Michael Love. Great to have all of you here. So let's go ahead. Let's get started. Let's talk about what we got going on with rates and pricing. So quick recap what happened on Friday. Let's put this on the 2-day. Let's zoom in on this. And let me pull up Presentify real quick. All right. So now we got all that taken care of. On Friday, mortgage-backed securities were around 100.13. Remember, we did have a bond rollover. That means that we saw mortgage pricing change a little bit, but it really, or not mortgage pricing, but your bond pricing change a little bit, but it really didn't have anything to do with rate sheets. And so we didn't have anything to worry about there. It was about 10 basis points. But we ended the day basically the same places where we were when pricing came out. There's a little bit of a spike, but overall, basically flat on the day. This morning, though, we are up a little bit. You can see there's some gains here, up about 8 basis points. That means that when you take a look at rate sheets, they're likely to keep treading water. I mean, look at the 6.29. Actually, let's go to purple because purple, there you go. 6.29, 6.29, 6.29, 6.28, 6.29, 6.27. This morning, probably going to see like 6.28, why did I write that there? You can't even see it. 6.28. When you see the fact that we are up those 8 basis points, that'll improve pricing a little tiny bit. Not much though. And overall should be about the same. And it's very likely that we're going to continue to see pricing stay the same as we head into Wednesday and the Fed activity. On Wednesday, of course, 2 p.m. Eastern time, the conclusion of the Fed meeting that starts on Tuesday, where the Fed members will go ahead and tell us if they are changing their Fed funds rate, which market's expecting a 0.5 point rate cut. We'll talk more about that in a minute. But anyway, going into this stuff, let's go ahead and keep going here. Reprice risk on the day today is low. It's very unlikely that we're going to see much movement. Like I said, we're up 8 basis points here. We can be plus or minus another 5 basis points. You're not going to see any movement. It's very unlikely we see any movement today. The outlook is that rates have a bit of room to move lower. Now, again, we're right around that 6.25 mark. We could work our way down for conventional conforming. You could see that maybe get down another eighth. If we get some help from the Fed meeting, we may even see this get into that flat 6. Maybe that you'll start to see that 5.99 without any points kind of a thing. Is anyone able to offer 5.99 on conventional conforming right now without any points? Without factoring in loan level price adjustments at LLPAs. Just curious. Let me know in the comments. Anybody out there able to go ahead and price at 5.99? We know that anything with this magic 5 in front of it is going to be the psychological trigger for consumers to help us get some more activity. I'm curious, and that's what lenders are basically trying to get to at this point. So we'll see where we're at. But the outlook, I mean, rates do have a room to move a bit lower, but they're not likely to move that much lower. What I did notice, and I mentioned this before, take a look at your Govy rates compared to your conventional. Usually, let me make this so it fits on the screen. Hold on a minute. Bloop, bloop, bloop. Bloop, bloop, bloop. Where's Siegel? How come Siegel isn't showing up on time anymore? All right, so take a look here. If you take a look, we've got that 6.29, right? And we're, FHA, VA, your Govy stuff is right about 6. So basically, it's only about a 1/4 point that we're seeing between those two here. But yet, if we go further down here, look at where we were at 6.58, and they were about 6.19. So this was a little bit higher. Generally we see about a 0.5 point, but when rates start to go lower, you do see that kind of constrict, right? It does kind of, that width does change, we're noticing. So just keep an eye on that, and you'll see that. Ron Siegel, here you are, my man. Well, tell me what day it is today so we know what the question of the day should be. Mike Morano, he freaking lives in California. So is that why he's late, or just because he doesn't get up early in the morning? He's always up early. Ron strikes me as the kind of guy that gets up early. Amber said her Govies are mid-5s. Nice. Well, that's much better to see than what you're looking at here, according to Mortgage News Daily. And again, I'm using the wider scale and kind of that consistency of it there, but it is awesome that you've got rates in the 5s for Govies. Amber, you tagged me on TikTok. A guy was discussing exact same pattern that happened last year. His take with inflation being even lower than last year. Hold on, I gotta get to the whole comment. Then this same time last year, we saw Fed rate cuts and still rates went back up. I'd love your take on that. Awesome. So let's go over this. I will go on TikTok and see if I can see where I was tagged, because I don't know that I know how to do that. But let's go into that a little bit. So if we take a look here, where is right here? All right. So let's move this over. And we want, come on. Nope, not quite. All right. So, nope, it jumped on me. Sorry. Come on. There you go. All right. So last year, we see that rates went down, 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 down ahead of the September meeting, right? And then after that meeting, we saw rates jump up. What was different? What changed in 2024? Well, the big thing is that we saw a 0.5 point rate cut, and markets were throwing around the word recession a lot. And everybody was expecting to see inflation continue lower and to see markets continue to, or not markets, but see the economy continue to weaken and the labor market weaken. And what happened was, before the November election, there was a big shift in speculation that Trump would win. And if Trump won, his administration would be very accommodative to markets and to the economy. It's very important to Trump. And Trump's practices are generally going to be better for the economy and the markets. So once that happened, the speculation on where the market would be, it wasn't the Fed rate cuts. Remember, we talk about Fed rate cuts, but it's what the Fed rate cuts are part of and what they represent. The reason the Fed is cutting rates or expected to cut rates as we get into not only the September meeting, but for the remainder meetings this year is because we're expecting to see continued labor market weakness and an expectation that the economy is slowing down. And if we see a reversal, like this meeting, it's expected 95%. October, we're expected to see another cut, 80%. December, expecting another cut, 75%. The reason that markets expect to see this is because they expect to see the labor market continue to show weakness and to see the economy start to lose ground. They're also probably starting to figure in that the Trump virus will take effect and that Trump will be able to get more control going on there. So the reason that we saw a year ago that we saw rates get ugly and go up right here after the Fed started cutting is because of what was expected to happen after the Fed rate cuts, independent of the Fed rate cuts. It's very unlikely that we see that same behavior. Number one, it's not an election year, so we're not going to see that shift. Number two, we had a weak labor report followed by an even weaker labor report. Markets are very much entrenched in the idea that we're going to see the labor market continue to weaken and that the economy is slowing and that it's going to need help. So we're in a very different situation this year than last year. So his take with inflation being even lower this year than the same last year. But what that person wouldn't be taking into effect is inflation's been creeping higher and that markets are going to be kind of aware of where these tariffs are taking us and what's going on with that. So that's the big thing there. That's on that. Hammer, if you don't know how to do that on TikTok, a really good service to teach you. Yeah, I know. There's a guy that could show me that. I think you could introduce me. But you know, that's the thing. Hey, y'all, Millie is really making me nuts over here to come in. So hold on a second. I'm going to let Millie in. Come on, Millie girl. Come on. Come on. I know. Come on. Everybody is waiting on you, Miss Noisy Girl. I know. Come on. Go ahead. Thanks, y'all. Sorry about that. She's being a little noisy there. So needed to let her in. All right. Anyway, so Ron says, as usual, the Fed is way behind. Look at the morning message from Daniel DiMartino Booth. Shared a graphic reporting her comments today. I did not read her comments yet today, but here they are. And there are all those screens and things. So she's talking a lot, it looks like, about the labor market and things. Yeah. So, and I mean, I'm not going to say that the Fed isn't behind, Ron, but you know, it's neither here nor there. It's kind of what are they going to do and where do markets expect them to be from here. So let me make this a little smaller so that if we do talk about any of this, it actually pops into place. Let's take a look at that 10-year treasury yield, by the way. 10-year treasury currently at 4.04. We're not likely to see it break into the threes ahead of the Fed meeting. We really are going to need some help. If it does break into the threes and stay there, that will help open the door to maybe, you know, push mortgage rates down further. Remember, the spread between mortgage rates and the 10-year has improved versus the last couple of years. So there is room for mortgage rates to go down, especially if that 10-year gets back down into the threes. So we are hoping to see that happen. And Amber, you're absolutely welcome. Robert said, Austin. Yeah, that's Austin, my son-in-law. So Anthony, it's not a replay, my friend. I'm still here rambling and babbling on. So usually about 20 minutes every morning, you'll see me talking about this. All right. So let's go ahead and go over the headlines this morning. You know, I had this and I didn't have it up here. All right. So today, what we're talking about, What to expect this week with the Fed meeting? The Senate fast-tracking Moran for this week's meeting, and does a loan estimate actually say property occupancy anywhere? So let's get into some of that. So first things first, as far as the Fed meeting, markets are expecting that we're going to see a rate cut. I expect that we're going to see a rate cut. I think everybody expects that we're going to see a rate cut. The only one who has a different expectation is this guy named Trump. And this guy named Trump, he thinks, let me go ahead and find it. Here it is. Nope. Let's see, Morgan Stanley. Oh, there it is. So this is it. So this guy named Trump, he predicts a big rate cut from the Fed this week. He expects to see a big cut this week. He's the only one expecting to see a big cut this week. And I don't think he really expects to see it. I think he's just trying to get out there and create a little bit of influence based on what he can. So Trump expects a big cut from the Fed Reserve this week. Again, not really what's going to happen. I think you have a big cut. He told reporters on Sunday his way back to Washington, it's perfect for cutting. The Fed is widely expected to cut rates as it grapples with a slowing labor market, stubborn inflation, and unprecedented push by Trump for lower borrowing costs. So that push by Trump, that leads us into this other article about how Stephen Moran is likely to squeeze in under the wire. Remember, the Fed meeting starts on Tuesday, tomorrow, and concludes on Wednesday. And Moran is being fast-tracked to be put in. So Senate Republicans look poised to confirm White House aide Stephen Moran to join the Federal Reserve Board as early as Monday. Now, this article this is a opinion piece. And it does kind of go into some interesting thoughts about how this is going to set a precedent, which the GOP may regret when the GOP is out of power. So, and that's kind of what happens. It's how all this stuff happens. So, but Moran has been nominated to fill the remaining term of former Governor Adriana Kugler. If you didn't know, what makes this very, very unique is the fact that this is an obvious plant from Trump just to get in there and invoke Trump's will. Moran is not going to be a long-term member of the Fed. He is a mercenary. He is there until the unexpired term of Adriana Kugler ends on January 31st of 2026. So for the next 3 meetings, if he does get confirmed today. And then he's only taking a leave of absence. Normally, he would have quit his job at the White House. You normally don't have a Fed member who would be employed at the White House. However, he's taken a leave and declined to resign from the White House. And he's taking an unpaid leave of absence. So he's basically going to be able to come back to his job. He won't be independent in any fair definition of the word. If Mr. Moran votes on the FOMC in a way Mr. Trump dislikes, he will be put in his job. Why do they say Mr. Trump? It's President Trump. He will put his job in the White House at risk. If confirmed, he would only be a single vote among 12 of the current FOMC, but everyone knows who he will be speaking for and answering to. So it's kind of an interesting dynamic that is in there. What is really more important to see, though, is what is Waller and Bowman voting, right? Right now markets are pricing in the idea that we're going to see a single quarter point Fed rate cut at this meeting. The question is, will Bowman, will Waller, will they come in and be pushing a bigger cut, right? So you got Mickey Bowman, you got Christopher Waller. I know I can't write with a mouse like this. It's a lot harder than you guys think. I used to have a nice pad that I could write with. Probably do it with my iPad. But anyway, so what are they going to do? Are they going to be, going on record dissenting that they would want a half a point cut? I mean, that would be interesting to see. So Waller definitely still in the running for the next Fed chair. Bowman never really in the running on that one. So Ron says the U.S. Senate is scheduled to vote on the confirmation on the evening of Monday, September 15th. The cloture vote is planned for 5:30 p.m. PDT, which we know means, more importantly, 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. So yeah, so he'll probably be on there and He's probably waiting outside the Fed building to go in tomorrow. So, and he'll probably make it in there. Now, a couple of other things that were some interesting articles, Fed related even, was let's take a look at. I wanted to talk about this one about Lisa Cook, right? So, Lisa Cook will be at the meeting. Fed or Trump did make on Sunday, he tried one more time to push it further, a final push to sway the U.S. Appeals Court to let him oust her over allegations of mortgage fraud before next week's Fed vote, before the vote this week, right? Which even if he did get her out, he wouldn't be able to replace her, but he was looking to get her out before the meeting. Now, this I found interesting, and I need feedback from you guys. So it says Fed's Cook called Atlanta property a vacation home, records show. And it says the property is listed as a vacation home in a loan estimate, indicating it wouldn't be her primary residence. Now, I know that back in my day when I wrote loans, we used the good old good faith estimate because we had good faith. And but I looked up the let me move this over so it gets on the screen. I looked up a loan estimate. And I don't see anywhere on a loan estimate where it talks about what the property is going to be used for. I see a loan term. I see a purpose like purchase or refi. I see a product. I see loan type, but I don't see occupancy. Am I missing this? Is occupancy on a loan estimate? And also, do you feel that if they could come up with the preliminary loan estimate, why did they not produce the final loan estimate and the final closing package? Why do we not have definitive documents for these loans? What's the whole point of having all this documentation? Where's the definitive document? And Mike Morano said Pulte already pulled the 1003, which is a personal privacy concern. It stated primary. Yeah, we'll keep one separate from the other. Yeah, and Megan said it's on the 1003 and other docs in the closing package, but that's not what they talked about. They talked about the loan estimate, and it's not on the loan estimate. Am I missing it? Right? No, Mike said it's not on the LE. So it's just it's kind of confusing to me that is this the best that they come up with for an argument? Is that it was a clerical error, or they turn around and they say that it was on the preliminary loan estimate? Right. And that's the thing. They even talk about it being her preliminary. In the May 28th, 2021 loan estimate was issued by a credit union weeks before she ultimately purchased the home. So that's the preliminary. The document shows she told the lender the property wouldn't be her primary residence. Where does a loan estimate say it wouldn't be the primary residence? So it wasn't a loan estimate. That's not. So again, this is why I hate reporting, right? And it's funny because we know more, and I'll admit you guys know more than I do, but together we still know more than mainstream media and all this stuff. But none of this, why are they not just coming out with closing docs? Still don't get it. So but she will be voting. She is a governor, which means she votes in every Fed vote. So unlike the presidents where they take turns. The other thing we said we were going to go over today, I think we've hit all of it, but let me go ahead and pull it up here one more time. Yeah, right. And that's Ron hit the other thing that I was giving them some kind of media leeway by calling it a vacation home and not a second home. There's no such thing as a vacation home. So, but I just, that's why all of this just smells like a turd. Smells like a big old turd. They're trying to talk to the public like they don't know these loan documents. And unfortunately, the public will believe whatever they're fed. And that's true, Holly. That's absolutely true. You're 100% correct on that one. Mike pointed out there are specific criteria for second homes as well. And Allison said your itemized fee worksheet states occupancy, but they don't have an itemized fee worksheet. They said the loan estimate, which a loan estimate is a actual document called loan estimate. So that's what, if they're going to use those words, that's what I'm going to and referencing. Good morning, Julie. So and again, I've said this before. I don't care if she committed mortgage fraud. I know that y'all will judge me for it, but as a person, like they could go after her for that. That's fine. But as far as her position at the Fed, they already confirmed her after all of this stuff had happened. I don't feel that it is what would be definitive under cause, according to the definition of cause, in order to be able to get rid of a Fed member. I don't think that it's cause. And I don't think that the courts will rule that it's cause. If she did it after she was a Fed member, we could argue a little bit more to cause. But, this is like saying that we found out she had, 38 speeding tickets 10 years ago, and that makes her a person that doesn't follow the laws. It doesn't matter. Like, that's not cause for removing her from her position at the Fed. So I don't think that there's cause. I think all of this is running around in circles anyway, but I do think she committed occupancy fraud, and if they want to go after her for that, then go after her for that. Absolutely. But as a Fed member, they could go after her and she could still be a Fed member. Mike said box 3B, intended occupancy. All right, where is box 3B? I'm going for box 3B. I don't see box 3. Where's 3, bro? I see mortgage broker, blah, 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 this, that, the other, additional information. I don't see anything that says occupancy on. Are you talking about on the 1003? Because it's not on the loan estimate. So, and this is what they call a transaction loan estimate. And that's kind of what we're sticking on this one. So, just how much weight does she have at the Fed? Well, she's got 1/12. She's got 1/12. She's got a vote, and that's what Trump wants. He wants her vote. So, but otherwise, how much weight does she have? I've never heard of her before, so probably not much. All right. Right. Deb says you have to generate disclosures when you have the 6 items, including stating occupancy on the 1003, but they haven't showed us a 1003. They're referencing a loan estimate. So that's where it's all kind of like, it just doesn't really hit, Occupancy is on the top of the LE. I'm not seeing that. Show me where am I missing that? Let me pull this over. I do not see occupancy anywhere here. Where is it normally? I see the applicant's information, property, sales price, loan term, purpose, product, loan type, all of this. I don't see occupancy anywhere there. Is it different? This is from the CFPB. I mean, here, that's what I'm pulling a loan estimate from here. So, yeah, no, this wouldn't that was a good question. That's one I brought up before too. When the purchase was done, was it prior to the LLPAs? No, it was during the LLPAs. Everybody schooled me on that because I said, isn't second home the same as primary anyway? And they said, not anymore, Hammer. And they showed that it was a big difference. So yeah, it would have made a difference. It was advantageous to her. So, but again, neither here nor there on any of that. I'm just curious and kind of funny on all that. So, all right, but just to finish up, let's get back on track with why you guys tended to join my knuckleheaded self. Talking about lock advice, we want to float everything. There's no reason to lock any loans heading into the Fed meeting, unless we were to see some huge reversal from left field for some reason, and all of a sudden we went from being up 11 basis points to down 11 basis points, and we were going to see a big move of repricing. But otherwise, what we're looking for is, are we going to get that dovish message or that hawkish message from Powell during his press conference? No Nick Timiraos article today. I'm anticipating one will come out for tomorrow. I'm anticipating a Timiraos article tomorrow that we'll be able to talk about. But otherwise, one thing that I definitely realize and see and understand is kind of how much they utilize media to manipulate. So I'm very curious about that. But anyway, my friends, I'm going to wrap it up for today. Thank you for joining me. Hope you all have a fantastic day. Keep floating. No reason to lock loans. We could see rates improve a little bit and possibly even improve a little bit on Wednesday. But we're not going to see them just like go lower, lower, lower. But it would be nice to see them drop, another eighth, maybe a quarter. I mean, I don't think we're going to see that in one fell swoop. And then the other reason for loans that have more time, again, not looking to lock anything when it's got more time, because we don't see anything big happening until October 3rd. That's the next jobs report. And then October 15th is the next CPI inflation report. So based on the information provided, credit score isn't on the LE either, but it's a critical piece of pricing. I agree, Deb. It's definitely part of the pricing, but it's not definitively that she signed a document that said one or the other on there. That's kind of, they said it said vacation home. These articles are saying that it says vacation home on the form. 1/12 doesn't seem worth all the kerfuffle. Randy, those 12ths add up. If they've got Mickey Bowman, he's got Mickey in his pocket. He's got Waller in his pocket. He's got Moran in his pocket. If he can keep going, and then replacing, if he can get somebody into Cook's spot, and then let's say that, that he gets Powell to quit. Remember, Powell is supposed to stay a Fed governor. This is a weird situation. Powell is supposed to stay a Fed governor after he is no longer chair. I think his term is until 2026, like May of 2026. I'm sorry. His governor is until 2028. He's out of being the Fed chair in 2026. So Trump, if Powell is like, I just don't want to put up with this crap, especially if I'm not the chairman, then he's probably going to leave. The only reason he might stay is just so that Trump doesn't have a spot to fill. That might be why he stays, but that's asking a lot of the man. But otherwise, then all of a sudden Trump has 5 spots and could influence, more. And next thing you know, Trump has 7 spots or influencing 7 spots on there. And he's able to push more what he wants. We'll see, we'll see where it goes. So, and Tiffany pointed out same thing that Ron Siegel pointed out, right? Nothing says vacation home, says second home or investment property, but I don't see that on an LE anywhere either. So yeah, it's definitely the long game, Randy. Definitely the long game. All right, y'all. Well, have a fantastic day. We'll chat more tomorrow. And thank you for joining me. Have a great one, everybody. Bye-bye.